I expect you will know this stanza from a poem by Minnie Louise Haskins. I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, "Give me a light, that I may tread safely into the unknown." And he replied, "Go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. That shall be to you better than light and safer than a known way." So I went forth, and finding the hand of God, trod gladly into the night. And he led me toward the hills and the breaking of day in the lone east. As you may remember, King George VI quoted it in his Christmas broadcast of 1939. 1939. Yes, think about that. It was not an easy time to be alive. There'd been World War I, when so many lives were lost, and so many who survived the horrors were traumatised beyond recovery. There'd been the Great Depression of the 1930s, starting in America but sending ripples around the world. And there stood George VI on the threshold of 1940, for goodness sake, war on Germany having been declared in the September of 1939, getting ready for what the year would bring. To summarise the poem he read in my more prosaic 21st century Hastings English, it's saying, "Oh, it's dark. Please may I have a torch?" A torch? No, chum. For what's coming your way, you'd better plug into the mains. And here are we, at the end of a turbulent year in which we have seen so much crumbling away, the uncovering of so much to dismay us in our political leadership, the proliferation of violence and authoritarianism globally. I could go on, but you know it all. It ain't looking good for the year ahead. My husband has an unfailing default reaction and response to any misfortune that befalls our family. And yes, we've had quite a few. Every time, his first reaction and response will be, "What can I do to help?" And he has a second one. "Did I contribute to this mess in any way? And if I did, I'm sorry. And what can I do to put it right?" Every time. One of the many reasons I love him and feel so proud of him. So, as we pause to review the kind of year we've just lived through, and then look ahead steadily at what is set to get worse before it gets better, let's ask ourselves those questions. What can I do to help? How can I change my input and become part of what heals, not hurts, the world? And when I say the world, I'm thinking of the well-being of creation as well as social justice in the realm of politics and economics. What can I do to help? The healing, restoring, redeeming solutions to the wounds of the world are revealed for us in the gospel of Jesus. So at least in coming to church, we've come to the right place. The crucial factor is how to get the light of the gospel flowing from the book and the tradition into our reflexes and responses in daily life. The year I candidated for ordination, I went on pilgrimage to Iona. It was memorable in all sorts of ways and has stayed in my heart forever. But one particular thing happened that made me think hard. It was in late October, the last week before they closed for the winter, and already beginning to be blustery. Iona worship is very imaginative and creative, using story and song, drama and visual imagery to communicate the truths of the gospel. One of the days we were there, the gathering for evening prayer explored the theme of light in the darkness. Each one of us was given a candle, and at the conclusion of the service we lit them and carried them forth from the church into the darkness outside. It proved to be remarkably spot-on symbolism, because absolutely everyone's candles blew out the minute they crossed the threshold. This is the challenge for us, isn't it? How to protect the flame. How to keep the light shining in the field, as it were. How to hold it steady and make sure it doesn't blow out. In February, I'm starting a new group, meeting once a month at my place on the first Monday evening of the month, so kicking off just after Candlemas on February the 5th. I can only accommodate 10 or 11 people in our space, and my daughter Grace is co-leading with me, so we can only fit in about 8 or 9 people. We're in Silverhill. In this group, we're going to strategise for holding our light steady and protecting the flame, so it will be called the Lantern Group. A living flame needs to be protected by a lantern if you want it to stay alight when you carry it out into the world. We're going to look at how to make a lantern. Spiritually, I mean. We're not setting up a rival craft group. Ways to build a practice for resilience and stability so we can increase our chances of holding our light steady, however blustery the darkness might be. If you want to know more, come along. One of the avenues we'll be exploring is the work from the 1970s of the Jesuit priest John Powell in the crossover place between spirituality and psychology about personal authenticity, being, as he put it, fully human and fully alive. After what can I do to help? Our second question was, how can I change my input and become part of what heals, not hurts, the world? A problem that afflicts many of us as we absorb the news at home and abroad is a sense of helplessness. I'm only one person with limited resources. How can I possibly make a difference? And honestly, that's a fair question. Not even voting necessarily makes a difference, as those of us who voted against Brexit know all too well. How can my one small life make a difference? In our Lantern Group, one of several things we'll be looking at to address this question is the work of the theoretical physicist Amit Goswami, which explores the implications of quantum physics for social activism. Amit Goswami has coined the phrase quantum activism to describe this particular way of changing the world. To summarise it briefly, think of the pointlessness of having a no peeing area in a swimming pool. What one person emits, we all get. Quantum activism works in the same way. We are all vibrating on the quantum plane, and we can raise the vibration of the whole by our individual input. We can lead the way by peeing in the pool where everyone swims. Then, to change the metaphor, the more of us join in, like a kind of shining flash mob, a revolution of love, the more we extend the reach of the vibration. Each person adds to the field of consciousness. You add to the fear, or you add to the love. It is always your choice. Each time you choose fear, worry, mistrust, prejudice, or judgment, you are assisting the old paradigm to remain. Each time you choose love, joy, gratitude, or any of the higher vibration emotions, you are assisting the new paradigm to manifest. I've noticed in my own life that although I've done a lot of preaching and teaching and writing about the light of the gospel, the really lasting effects I've seen have been with people I actually lived with. There's a catching force. It works best close at hand, but it also affects the whole field. So starting small needn't worry us, because small and close is powerful. I'm inviting you then, if you'd like to walk with me into whatever awaits us in 2024, strengthening our practice, exploring ways to protect the flame and hold the light steady, understanding and putting into practice the power of quantum activism to change the world. I'm sorry for such a clumsy summary. Come and talk to us at the Lantern Group if you want to know more. Let me leave this for the moment with a jewel of inspiration from Samwise Gamgee in the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even the darkness must pass. A new day will come. And when the sun shines, it will shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you, that meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going because they were holding on to something, that there is some good in this world and it's worth fighting for.